All right, so just to recap what we learned this morning. We look at two postulates of spatial relativity.
And
what are they?
The speed of light is the same in regardless of the reference frame.
Right, so speed of light is the same for all like observers in all inertial reference frames. What is the other one?
The limit of the limit speed of any object is the speed of light. So he's saying that no object can pass the speed of light. Yes.
Right. So no object can move faster than speed of light.
There was
Right. What is the? There's one more postulate. Cover that. There's one
Law of physics. The law of physics in the initial frame is same.
Right, so law of physics is the same for all inertial observers, meaning it's the same in all inertial frames. Right, so what does it mean by laws of physics is the same?
So it means for the person in the box or any observer in the box can see the simultaneity of the light reach. For You're saying that in the inertial frame of reference, and any observer can use the same physical laws, and they will observe the same result.
All right, so using the same physical laws, does that imply that you get the same measurement?
디가사 저렇게 남샤서 거라 저렇게 단다 땡침티 직바직 배쳐 땅 나서라 저렇게 땡침티 직바직 배쳐 땅 바이나 되게 아니 점리들라 직바직 용거 선거 여러에스 아
So in other words, a physical. Okay, go ahead.
kalamba 되게 선거 여러에스 마야 단다 되갑서 무슨 전세 가래 Okay. Yeah. So the question itself, it cannot be because for these two people, Tenza and Karma, in this case, a different measurement because of the different frame of reference, right?
Right. So the point is that physical laws are the same, but the actual numbers, the values, could be different.
Because due to the frame.
Due to the different frames.
Right. That andanga sugarwa that this aba ko ko tim chibachi peche tang yores ra ngam ge ten tim ti chibachi peche tang yores imbai na yang ko tuishi manda wala tene dete tamala chenje stambula thota manda wayong res.
So I hope this subtlety is clear.
Tatege chikaso gore ji shipcha de da kaseu chabiri wachigi yes.
Yes? Yes, good. All right, so this morning, based on this postulate, we've seen that the concept of being simultaneous is not absolute.
Ta tana shopa ge nga su ge data la ya wa ta tamcha de wa ta mse tu tu ge tamcha data la ta ba yin ba na nga su ge dunyam rangshin sai ji wa dunyam rangshin ge do chete ne ko chutu ma yin ba ji nga su ha go ndo was.
Meaning that two events may be, perceived or measured as being occurring at the same time, simultaneously, by an observer in a particular inertial frame, but to another observer, they may not be simultaneous.
Tana shopa nga su ta ba yin ba na aswa jinggo ke tuishi chila yo pe ge ane tangkhen chila som ba yin ba na donda ni te tuichila chunggo yo pa yin ba na yas ane ko tuishi shenda chikna na yo pe ge mi chi ta ba yin ba na ko tunyon la chunggo min do was.
And then we move on to look at this example, which we have not finished yet, where karma inside this car that is moving at some constant velocity. She starts this laser light going up that gets bounced back, and then we figure out, according to karma, this is the trajectory of the light ray.
Ta tana shopa nga su ge de ko la chi ge yang pichen de la ta yo re na charma song swa tanda de kap se ta tanda ge gam gna la yo ba de ro ta ko khor gam gna la yo ba de karma che ta karma ge ko desa de la ya ane ko ta khor gam de na ne sham ni ya la ya nga su ge laser ge lo chi we chi tang yo res laser go wo te ane du sia tang ya tang che gang la ya ane melon chi sha chi melon go ne do thu chi yo ro wa ta de la ta yo res ta de kap se ta khorgam nangla yo pi karma la chomba imbai na we tigun rotang ka res stambla shaja ya chi che ma yo batarang ja res
where according to observers in Tenzin's frame, which is at rest with respect to the ground, what those observers would observe is this particular trajectory.
Ta ina ya answa ta 상회 la tebege ngucho mebi ro 상회 la shisha pa na ngucho mebege ta tanda tenzin chlolo yo bege tenzin ge tuji la ta pa imba na koge weti ge dresa ge lamka te kanda chi thong kare se na de la remotra na sin dina ro chi thong kare es lam ge we ge dolam de.
So according to whom that it will take longer for the light to go up and then get bounced back.
Ta trode kare se stambalaya tishi kangile shisha pa imba inas weti ya dabti malhe go ro shabla ro til hebala ya titso mango gres tishi kangina la yo weti mango gres.
tangent, right? And why?
준세가지네스.
Because the distance that the light travel is longer. Right, so this is important. Here we have the assumption that get built in, meaning we are assuming the speed of light is the same in both frames.
다 단단도 스타바임바나 츠션데라야 쿠티 랑고에게 다 네탄치 총고로 와스카치라파나 코장타 랑와두고도 와스 다 데치비 값은 아츠고 카레 인샤샤치오레 세스탐발라에 소샤카레 초파카레 치오레 세스탐발라에 데 값은 여기 뉴스에티 직보임발라야 아츠고데 고 임비 원다 당샤요레 소근 적세데.
And it is under that assumption that we can draw such conclusion.
다 단단 디나로 그 자신 거 오네 단단 가서 그다 다돈 디나로 샤거로 왔건데 라야 망고 그랬어야 돼.
Right, that's actually one can see that very clearly. Right, because the distance that the light travel is the speed of light times time. If I have the speed fixed being the same in both frames, then the longer the distance imply what? The larger the time duration, and vice versa.
다 단단데 간에 가서라야 잔타데 가레세선 오기 뉴스에티 네 오에티 드비기 뒤인게 줄고 그러와스라 다 디캅스 가서라야 아니 디캅스 가서라야 오기 뉴스에티 템포레인 줄메레 시스템벌 콘주란도요 마치촌도요 말와 다 케테 가서라야 오기 뉴스에티 줄란도요 메바체 티기 티 임비지 샤바 임바이나 아니 잔타 람바 임바이나 디수망고 그러와스 네 잔타 통화 임바나 디수용한고 그러와스.
Right, so suppose if that assumption was, different. Say if the assumption was that the speed of light actually changed with respect to the frame, can we still make such assertion?
다 게티스와 다 당봉아 속에 최소시야 되고 여기 르셀라야 여기 족셀라야 지라메 파텔라야 당아 속에 차샤여와 다 단당아 속에 찬조들라야 지라지 당스와 지라지 당스 게티스 여기 족세티 뒤시라스 그러다 뒤시라 때는 지란도고 요 파인바이나 nga 속에 당게 나생게야 다던테 자트크로에스.
No, right?
Yeah.
Because if this is different in both frames, then the relationship between delta t and the distance, it would depend on how the speed varies.
Kati chat kamawas, karchin chat kamares estambalaya, keti nga suge tishila tenedete ugun joksetilaya juran dugo yo paimbaina, nga suge jantha ta tisuni ko parola taken doyo ta kotobedoyo sage kasugura de tigin dewati shaja tat kamawas, tat kamares.
Right, so I hope it's clear where the assumption goes in our derivation.
No, that is tambalaya tandanga suge chita koge 지시직단 저고요 와라 그 저고요 쓰고요 와 집이 값은 속에 네가 나라에 찬종직 지기도 와 네임비 차샤되다니 젠데til라야 로직 딱도 와 디스tambalanga 속에 찬종대 관두고니 하고도 와 스텔라.
All right, good. So let's keep going. Let's see. All right. So the setup we have here actually serves as a clock.
다 단단데라 가서 배선 샤바데 가르레스 스tambalaya 아니 지금 추수공고라 배쳐 당나르고요 레스.
Right, because if I have also a mirror at the bottom, then the light just get bounced back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right? Just like the clock go tick tock, tick tock.
다 게팅아 다 단게팅나나 강라야 멜론치오와 단다 게티디기 올라라 멜론치오 파인바이나 당아 수카리 통거레스나 여기다 외드 디스고다 디가 외드 테고 야도 영코마 다야 초마초 데데그로 코야만 데데그로스 다코 야만 로바디 남정아 수기 치소 그냥 틱다신다 타타타 세도스토가 어디 나신 코야만 데데그레스.
Right, so this is sometimes you would hear the statements about time dilation. It gets phrased as the moving clock runs slow.
다야 찬스말라야 치 karsa kari kugre system balaya tanga tsu tu nervous ko time dilation says to time dilation the tu nervous ati ko gre de shenda tila ya kar ko gre system bala ya ane karsa guchu tangjum bi gitu so chigin baina guchu tangjum bi gitu so chigin baina ane ko ta tha sa ge paru ge chi ge jun rong ko gre tu nervous ati te ko gre.
Right? Because according to karma, it's a clock moving or at rest.
Ta tanda karma la chomba imbaina tisoti ane ko gumela dete yore ngocho tanga yores.
Karma. At rest, right? And according to Tenzin, who is observing this light clock, is the clock moving or at rest?
Ta tanda de kapsang asuke samna karatangla na tiso sayate ane wegi chiso sayas to wegi chiso ta tanda weti yanro mando te chiso chila wantang baina ne karma la tena gocho tango yo mar tango mundo sa songa ne chilo na pike tenzin la te baina ne wegi chiso tin gocho tango yo roes.
It's moving.
Yeah.
Right? And since it takes longer time for the light to bounce back and forth in Tenzin's frame, he will perceive the moving clock run slower.
Ta this tabla ko ge jang thara duaro da khula chlola deni ge Tenzin la tabba bana woti ta ko jang thara wala duwa chogodwa this tabla ya ta chlola deni khula chomba bana ko ge ta tanda ge wogi ta wogi chusoti ani tamuilin dugo pala chogres.
Is that clear?
To so chaso yes.
Yes, so I think there's a nice simulation. Let's take a look if I can get this.
Sandela ya tenchi esa. Pisen tenchi esa.
Where is it? All right. All right. So on the top, whose frame is this?
Tate gange tembana sugtuishire esa.
Karma. Right, so you see the light bounce up and down, up and down, up and down. Where at the bottom is this Tenzin or karma?
Oti Tenzin karma esa.
Tenzin, right? And since the light travel longer distance, according to Tenzin, it takes longer time, and therefore this tick tock is slower.
Ta gange tembana ko ya ma dwade ta karma ge khurang ge tishna chi wo de imbana Tenzin tishe chi we te dwala ya ne chola go wa chi ane ko kasugure jang thala rang wa du go wa this tambala ya ta Tenzin la chomba imbana chog thidach go ra tha sa chi go wa o ti yang te wa yo res.
All right, so this is clear.
So cha so esa.
All right, so I know you're all very good at concept. You understand this. Now, what I want to do is to figure out how much slower is this clock.
Ta danda nga suge ta chi namsha ta tatru theni baina dig gotunti ta gutsu bares. Ta nga su kari ta gen sena kutewa yo pate ka such ki tewa yo pate ta gens.
And we already started this morning a little bit, right?
Ta shopa nga suge te chi tsja imba tsja shayores gutsu sa ins shopa.
All right, so let's get back to the slides. All right, so again, quantitatively, how is the amount of time differ as observed by Tenzin and karma?
Tarwa ta tse te la ya ko ta te karma ta Tenzin shage sono chung gi tse tan rago yo mares ta ro chepe yo res ta chepe te nga su ge tangka la papa imbai na ta katsuch ge chepe yo res.
So here we have two unknowns, right? One is the unknown, meaning the amount of time in the frame of karma.
Ta tanda de imbai na nga su la ya ade ka su gre de jutang sa gro ta hama ko ge jutang chi wa hama ko ya ge ko jutang de de la ni yo res chikare ses nambala ya karma ge tuishina na yo pi ge tso ka chung gor me te ha ko yo mares te chi res.
And the other one is the amount of time it takes for the light to travel as observed by Tenzin.
다양 현대의 가래 시스템바야 텐진 그런 게 동비 값을 왜 들어야야 뒤서 가는 거 뒤서 지가와 뒤서 대양 하고요 말이스.
So how should I label them? Can I call both time as T?
다된 담발라야 아니 그다 잡던 가리가 청기지기 임베스 아니샬라 트리트나 그거웨스. 네가 말이스. No.
No, why not?
가르치는 거
Why not?
Because in a different frames of
They are
reference.
different frames. They are two different quantities, and therefore you need to distinguish them.
자꾸 뒤시 만들어라 요지 담발라야 아니 그 제초 만들어요라 레마르웨 디스 담발라야 콘체 첨벌지야게요 그 잡장대요 만들어 배쳤던 거고요 레스.
Alright, likewise, we know the height of the car is given by capital L.
따티난 생각서 될 거래 하고요 레스나 아니 콜감 되게 되세 되게 가서레스나 L 임바데 하고요 레스.
And this morning I saw some calculation taking this distance as L. Is it a good idea?
Can you repeat that again?
Right. So this morning some group, when they start to analyze this problem, also they label this distance because it's distance, so we call it L. Is it a good idea?
다 단어 쇼바스로야 루카 지게 될라야 지자비 값스 단단 처조라 요비게 사타치도가 사타디가랑서양 코 L 레식데샤스 데 지탄데 야보치르베스.
No, right? Why not?
마레스 가르치네 마레스.
kunyi ringthong yora 단지 네가 기마데 전날 찍바 차그로 두스나데 ring 도사라 제장 distance 쳐봐셔 잘했어.
If because the distance is longer and if you draw the line from here and it is L is okay, otherwise not.
Right? So because this is a different quantity, this is a different length. Right? So you don't want, even though it's length, you have to distinguish this length from this length.
That the degree of mares ko that the ring sense tamba ring sense borse chi chago orwa borse de imba na rang se de la ya ko chi rang wa chi thwa yorwa chong ge L imba na phajo de la ya rang se thu se de L imba na chaju ko rang se de L marwa is tamba la jenda chi pechu tangu yores.
So is it clear?
This is cha so esa ta cha so na cha so la na ma shin ga yin sho de chi de da.
So it is very important to really be very clear, be very precise what you are, writing, what quantity you refer to.
That is tambale che sugar wa danda dita da chaptang choni sugar chaptang peche tang de tarwa chaptang peche tang de ta che chu ma shwa chu chomber chi go yorwa chomber chi bi kapsus ta data kha seu ga ne ha ku gwe te ke chim bu cha go yores.
All right. And what is this distance here?
Ne chjo de gi jang tha de gares ka sores ta velocity kare velocity re okay. The distance is Vt and I asked what is the V? The V is the trans velocity, yeah.
And why is this given by Vt?
The Vt tiki jure se te ta tiki janthote ka chore ne Vt tiki jurba ta songore se gorwa te garchi ni Vt res. That means tambala program tiki nyurse te tsola jurchi trege yorwa te garchi ni res. That garchine resta, they conduct your resta, garchine race go that day. He says over here so many people are saying so many things, but he's saying that because we know that velocity is distance divided by time, and over here for the distance is the formula is v into t. V is the speed of the train.
Right, but I could also do c times t. That's also speed times time. That also give me distance. Right?
Yeah, the tanda to see by manning is city till a Josana and Rigorwas, Settle and Jursere, Tisoti Tigsongerwas, Rigorous to Sina.
So what's the significance? What caused this shift?
That under Dela cooking Gushetama Dela Kugita Yanchi Dela Chicane Ranzangariores, the Caris Hungariores. Ah. Uh huh. Since the frame of reference, so the trend is moving.
Yeah.
And we have the velocity of the trend as v, not
Right.
c.
So this basically when karma push the button to start the light, this is initial position. This is where the trend is, right? So this is a starting point of the light rate.
Tarwa, that under the tapa in Banata, karma corgum la dere, corgum no de tanda, tampoco chita, tompo logorwa. Tompo lobby capsa, then dela you pick up secretary number ku tampo loba, Tarwatanga swimming coin banata, getting drujin your pine banaku, Tandakasa, wait it at tampon goods you loeg to get it was.
Right, so the light travel and the car is moving. The light reach the mirror on the top. The trains, the car still moving, and then it bounces back down here. And this is the distance that the car traveled during the amount of time that the light traveled.
Tampote Lunu Jelaya, then they can spoke system, Chilota becomes a Cholonita because of Sakura, Cholota because of Minkotin Dugdera, Minkotin do this number, Kuyama, Saja Dugmaro, Kunde, De Danu Jelaya, Mande Dugura, the Tusutica races number could Goyag Tusutiris, the way the Yandrojima Hag Tusutitiris.
And in particular, this is during the amount measured according by who? Tenzin or karma.
Hopper, and on it, Chimusik Shepa in Bana, that Andagan Suka Janta Sash or what a day. Then the Sule Shisha that on Saint Jebares.
Tenzin, right? So I hope that's clear.
This is which has a
Good. So, all right, so I should have defined this. The amount of time as observed by Tenzin is called T, where the amount of time observed by karma is given by T sub 0.
Tarwa, that instambalaya, Titsumanda instambalaya, Ganlaya, Karis, Chashaki in Senarwa, Ni Tenzingi Tongi, Tenzingi Tongi Skurada, Tenzingi Tashichi Tongi, Titsutilaya, TJ, and a karma Kurungatashi Titilaya, T0 Satitagins.
Right, and the fact that I put 0 here is this is a rest frame.
That under Delaya T. La Corsa Shagadwa, La Corsa Jinsenkari in Sestambalaya, Co Gumegi, Gushutanshi, Mepigi, Tuishina Yopatit Songuchi, yes.
All right, rest frame meaning like karma inside the car. Yes, and so she perceived the car is at rest, right? So that's a rest frame.
That under the Kasayan Kungumegi Tuji said, the Karmala Sombana, Karma de Koro, the Tignana Minkunana Yoro, Korgumtina, Yamton Rustambala, Samata Bambana, Kola Sombana, Gushatangame Pasogura, or the Seguris.
Any questions about this setup?
Yes. Tanda the karma latene tanda where the yama to the gume 0 rare. The yama pargoria, pass jangta druga marma the chigi yama jangta drugora.
Alala dig T0 the line back.
T0 the yama janako,
Mamma T0 says Tabalaya, Titsole Corsago Marda. Tiso Karimba Shingu Mare. Kungu make it Tisana, Tiso T. Lecorgo Sombacishola Coretta.
Chadako yama Duga war. That young Gijan, Tambo Yardo said that the Niba Males at the Nipa Janta Yamarma, the Chigama Gijawa.
T. Lecorsago Marda, because could somebody in a machine.
Okay.
Question solved?
This are. Yeah, this are.
All right, any other questions about this setup before you jump into doing the calculation?
Then you know how the German, you know, you let the mela, then you do it. Draw air. No questions.
No question. All right. So this is the math, the only math you need to use, right? Pythagorean theorem
다 단다 가수 배치 당해 될라 안스 쓰자야 될라 시 배치 당해요. 스타틱은 파이터 그런 게 아니 디레스 남사 디레스.
Right, so here this is right angle, and we have this relation x squared plus y squared equals to r squared.
다 단다디 가수 임바나 가수 파이터 그런 게 남자라 시샤바 임바나 가수라야 트랜스퍼 소스 마치요 바체 다 티나네 가스 거레스나 장탄이기 랑지르기 돈토테 사타가 랑지르 총거레스 거레스타 디 임바네 x 게 랑지르 건라 y 랑지르 돈바 임바나 r 게 랑지르 총거레스.
Alright, so our goal is to find the relationship between t and t0.
다 가수가 뭐이 가레스 스탐발라야 델라요 피기 아니 뒤쳐니 도와라다 뒤쳐된 차기 아니 바로긴 레와티 차야디레스.
So what do you think this relationship should depend on?
다 저한테 가르쳐 있단말이야. 다 티다 티를 거는 차가 바로긴 레와티 가리라 라글레 그래서 그도에스.
Without doing the calculation.
스마제 바임바나 스마제 바제 계절 바임바나 그런 이거 바로긴 레와티 가리라 라글레 사레스. Distance.
What distance? Which distance?
Distance and a distance.
This distance.
Right. Well, is that right? It's a distance traveled by the car or the train.
Yes, it will. And what is that distance depends on?
Then 되게 거기
Speed, right? The speed of the train. Right, so that's a very important quantity, and that's intuitive. Because, depending on what's the relative velocities of the two frames, that dictate how different the two measurements are.
다때 따라자레스 다다가 소임바나 다 천재 지금 바나 천재 된 제가 바로 라 쳇벌 가리오레스 스탄발라야 아니 뉴분이 바나 다다가 소임바나 뒤신이는 돌아 뒤시tin 차가 바로 그 뒤지기 뉴세지거와 다 뉴세 때라테네 데테 네 그런 이게 세자들에 캐펀도 거와스 단어디 값서 거기에다 뉴세세 스탄발라야 지탄 구메데데 거레 지디 챈데데 가레 스탄발라데 민코르티군 족세 들어와 텔라라리 거레스.
Right, so the goal here is really to, write the relationship, try to connect the unknown. That's what we learned this morning, right? We have some information that we know, we have the unknowns that we try to solve, and the rule is to write the equation that connect the unknowns to the information given in the problem.
다 다는 쇼발랑 가서 답안 나셔래. 다 잡장 가시 지 샤고 여러 와다 잡장 나나야 지 하마고 잡장 다 시야게 잡장 연거도 와. 다 단다데 나네 제출라야 제비기 아니 니수티즈 배셔당데데스. 다 단당 가서 고야데 가레스나 디수tin 샤고 바로로 와. 디수티당 틸로건 샤고 바로라야 제와 가리요 바데 단다긴 데라 고피기 니수티도 배셔당데단 그런 얘기 제와티 제고 요레스.
Right, so you can think of this as I'm going to solve for t, which is my unknown, in terms of t0.
다 디캅서 가리 지난 그래서 스탄발라야 아니 가는 거 세야데 가리엔스나 티디 세기엔스와 아니 티디 간다 세기엔스나 티 레코긴 레와 직당단에 세기엔스야디 세수 삼는 샤고레스.
All right, so let's get to work.
다스 자고스.
It's a challenging problem. It's very challenging. So, just try.
스팅고 녀보치기어레스 임바나 지다에 시기잡지 탑시당로 치스. They can work in a group, right?
Oh, yes, this is not exam. You should work in the group.
직토 메스 수수치고 냠트 트드치 치는 거레스 다.
I don't know whether I will get there. I think I may, but it's mostly picture though. Okay, and did you use the version that I sent this? Yeah, because last night I still have the solutions in, and this morning I sent a new version. I took out the solution. But I think some students they did not notice. Yep. No. Yeah, so this is this morning's version, yes. Thank you so much. I'm just going to give hint. I'm not going to tell you the answer.
Your formula,
Okay, so what is D? You want to know how T is related to T0. Right? That's what we want to know. What's the relationship between the time measured by karma and the time measured by tenzing? And here you only have T, but you don't have T0.
what is correct?
T?
T minus T0.
T minus T0, how did you get that? How did you get that? You cannot assume that. And also, what are the information that is known? Is D given? Do you know what D is?
Gamma slide.
But it's the only thing given is the height and the velocity of the train. That's the only thing you know. And the speed of light. You know nothing else. So I don't know what we don't know what D is. No. But you can try to find D using the information you have.
That's why we will get
From physics, not from math. What is D? What is the distance? Who travel that distance? Let's think about the physics meaning, what D is. What is that distance? I will let you try. I'm not going to give you too much. I want you to try. All right, so what are the known information? What are the known information you have?
단단히 나는 제출을 시야 가르가리도사 시야기 학교에게 내수 가르가리도사.
We know the speed of light, do we?
여긴 조세 학국으로 와 기계로 해서
What else do we know?
젠더까지 학국으로 해서
The height, L. What else do we know?
젠더까지 학국으로 해서
B, the speed of the train. That's the only thing we know. So your final result shouldn't have anything else other than these three. All right? And what are the unknowns?
rồi ta 학교에 됐다래도 와다 한국에 가려고 해서
What do we want to find?
가르쳐
Time,
그랬어.
right? What time? We have the time measured by Tenzing and the time measured T0, which is the time measured by karma. We want to find the relationship between these two. And that relationship should involve quantities, the known quantities only.
대단한 가수가 세대 가르쳐 그래서 나와 한국에 데려와 한국에 가르쳐 그래서 나 댄슨 그런 게 아마 karma 댄슨 그런 게 세제백에 티디다 아니 karma게 세제백에 티를 거치고와 댄이차가 바로건 저와 세고요레스 다 댄이차가 바로건 저와 세라야 가르쳐 던 그래서나 가수가 될라야 잡던 가시 하고야시도 와 다 참아 잡던래 하고야 잡던 데서 배쳐 던 데던 저저데 세고요레스
Right, so it's important to think about, you know, what does it mean by this distance? Right, what is this distance? It's D, but what does that mean physically? All right, so that's
which
a hint.
day this day the
D,
okay
capital D.
아하, 다 단다들라야 캡터 디지트도 와. 캡터 디지트도 와. 다 되게 장터치 총거로 와디 가리 총거스. 가리 레스 다데. 데 삼노타 개체 무차 거스 단다 쓰자부 값사.
The light travel, right? So that's a very key information.
아하, 다 되게 그 되게 나네 개체 무치 레스 다고 니츠가 나네 개체 무치 레스.
And actually, I'm going to make this problem even more challenging. I'm not going to tell you what's the height of the train.
다 단도 제출을 때 지신데 때는 고녀스 샤고스와. 다 가리 레스 담발라야 아니 코금 되게 도세 하고요 말이스. 코금 도세 피셔스.
Meaning, the result you find should be valid regardless of the height of the train or of the car.
다 디카리 송거래서는 와. 다 제출을 토픽이 점지지라고 왔다고 지티마를 드릴 용나 지잡이 용반에 톱장시라고 와. 톱장 가래 라바 임바이나 디 아니 거기 도셀라야 드라마 빼가니 제출게 지틴 드기요레스. 도셀라랑 말리 요거네 드간 드기요레스.
But is this height independent? Meaning, can you express this height in terms of quantities on the board?
다디 가서나 단다게 투세시거라 투세 따담바 엘테 투세테 아니 그 인디펜던트 레스 다고 라옹아르 베스타 셰 가르스고레스 담발라야 투세테스 아니 데나나 요피게 티시거라 와다 가술라야 찹당 가시시거라 데이터 페이지 당데다 촌트거레스 아
Yes, right?
투세테 right 촌트 이바라
What is this distance?
되게 정세대 가래
I know it's L, but what is L?
L 가래사 아 라 야, 그때 왜야 너에게 람토들이 와? 왜 너에게 람토들 간다세 그래? 아.
Time,
Yeah, speed of the light into the time. Yeah.
right? So this is the distance the light travel during the time that, or half of the time that karma observed.
แต่ว่าที่คุณยกเสด็จแต่ปัตตสกุลปัตตการสกุลเสนาปัตตดิเซลาสหรือปัตตดิเซลายาคุณยกเสด็จอันนี้ตั้งแต่การมาคนก็ชอบไปกี่ตุสุจิกรัวตุสุกิเช็คก็ยุบกุกรัวสตาคุณ
Right?
ยก
So
เสด็จ
what that means is if I know what T0 is, the amount of time observed by karma, then I can express this distance in terms of that time.
แค่ที่การมาชอบไปกี่ตุสุที่ฮักว่าอินไปไปนะตั้งแต่ก็จันทันที่ไอ้ที่ตุสุที่ไปช่วยตั้งแต่ต้นสมบัติยอรัวส
They are related, right?
ตั้งแต่เดียวยอรัวเดียวยอรัว
Yes? And how about this distance? Can we do the same?
นี่สุดยอดสักนี่จันทัชตัวที่การเรสที่งั้นสุดท้ายนั้นสมบัติยอรัวส Yes, sir.
What is this distance?
되게 장터대 가래사.
I know it's deep, but what's the physical meaning?
되게 가르쳐 거래사. 아,
Light travel according to who? According to Tenzin. So how do you, so is this distance related to the time observed by Tenzin?
아하, 다 단다 되게 장터대 있어. 다그 장터대로 왜 드베 장터대로 와? 왜 드베게 장터대? 아니 도시지 덴징기 따비기 뒤서대던 로요로스. 노야.
Oh yeah, so now you have another relationship, right? Oh yeah. So now you know how to solve it. Get to work.
아하, 다 제주 간다 쓰자고는 하고서 어야, 다 쓰셔.
Oh yeah. Quantity. We know speed of light,
아, 딱 가서 가리 하고래세나? 여긴 족세대 하고로와스.
we
Yes.
know the speed of the car or the train,
아하, 단다 골감 뛰긴 족세대 하고로와스.
and if you like, fine, let's say we also know the height of the train.
아하, 다 단다 뛰기 두세대 하고로와스.
And our two unknowns are the time, T and T naught.
다 하면 거야 대가래세나 뒤수딘 처럼 트리던 트릴라 거든 처럼도
Can everybody see the board?
동대
Yeah. All right, so T is a time for the Tenzing observed,
아하 다 트리딩 속에 댄징기 따비기 뒤수디지
meaning it's the amount of time for the light to travel from here, hit the mirror, and come back.
아하 다 대가래세 스tambalaya tampun구즈그로 안구즈 사드네 양코레 밀론tilaya 뇨 밀론티기 뇨누기 질라 양셔마 올랄 해고로와
Where T naught is a time for the light to come from here, go up, and come back.
아하 다 티 레코티카레세 스tambalaya 다 까마게로와 뒤싱나라야 왜티야 소 밀론라 포트네 양셔마 요아데레스
Is it clear?
세우차세 세우차세 배야부
Good. All right, so this is karma.
아하
All right, so from the morning, we know how to relate this distance to the time that karma observed, meaning T0.
다 단단가 속에 그게 장타치와 와와 야만도의 장타 양나 도체들와 아니 까마게 도시총이 뒤체 레코르사데 티 레코르탄 되어 간다스타고나 하고 소아스
What is that relation?
그래 아 가족들이 L 지도야 L 와 LD 아니 karma ga tosa chong ga titso le ko ta do chupa ne do kandas re. Yeah, see the speed of light into the T0.
Into T0 divided by 2.
Divided by 2, yes.
Right? So distance, the light travel up is speed of light times T0 divided by 2.
내려와. 거기 적세 대체 아니 그 뒤서가 선거 받으나 뒤서 단다 되게 체크를 했던 거로 와.
So
Yes.
that's the first relation you have.
다 단다 체출을 담보라가 이게 내와테 레사.
Right? Remember this morning what we say is we want to relate the unknowns to the fixed quantities, to the known quantities in the problem.
다 단다 쇼방 가서 가리레세나 하마고야 최고에게 잡당때 하고에게 잡당더냐던 레와트야지 기저셰 바스. 셰사.
Right? So does everybody agree with this relation and understand where this comes from?
다 데라야 참아게 밀레지게 요에사. 너스 용탄텔라야 디스에사.
All right. Thank you. I like your energy. All right, so let's look at Tenzing's case.
다 단다 던진게 네탄텔라 타고스. 상황이 그대로.
Where this distance is capital D,
다 단다 되게 랑세데 디르도 와.
and this distance is a distance that the train travel within the amount of time, T. Right?
다 되게 오케이 랑세데 가레스 스탄발라야 아니 그 외티 안도 마용에게 뒤서 티 티게나라야 아니 민코그 콜감티 장타 가서실로 바데로 와스.
So what is this distance here?
아니 파조데 가레스 다 체가데 가서레스. 체가레 와 가레기 체가레. 알레.
Half VT.
half VT, yes.
Right? So this is half VT.
How
about this distance here?
다 되게 도서대 가서레사.
L. Is it the same L as this L?
건게 엘티타 시바로에사.
Yeah, so we can relate that to T naught, right? The relation we have.
다때 시바인 바나 가서 그 티레 거다. 아니 그 도주션 저기도 왔어.
Are there any other relations that we can write down?
다 나츠게 단단 디투에게 아니 저와드네 두에사. 두. Yes?
Do.
Yes.
So what is it?
가레사.
D. And how about D?
디가레사. CT divided by 2.
C. T divided by 2. And why is that?
가르치네레사. Yeah, for Tenzin's case, the light travels speed
in-
of the light into the half of the time it takes.
Right? So this is half the time that the light travel in Tenzin's case. So this is a distance that the light travel during that amount of time.
다 단단되게 석타티 가르에서 스탄발라야 뒤서 띠기 체크하서 그러와. 뒤서 띠 체크하서 그러와. 다 띠때 니그고 바 체크하게 나라야 왜띠 드베게 장타대로 와스.
And therefore, distance is speed times time.
딘 스탄발라야 장타테 가르에서는 뉴스티 띠기 주는 그러와스.
So far, so good?
Disa tanda berda. Dumasa lerda. Yes.
Yes, very good. So now, what we want to do is to find the relationship between the two unknowns, meaning T and T0.
단 데버다 하고 소나다 야고레스다 단다 디기 질랑 아주 가리세고레스나 티다 티레콘세고 바로건 저어디 세야레스.
How do I get that relationship?
단 저어디 간다스라 그레스. Pythagoras theorem.
Right, very good. All I have to do is just to look at this triangle. Right?
다 단다 가서 다이티 가레스 삼발라야 파조살라야 정수 수수마시도와 정수 수수마테 단나 디그로와스.
So what does the Pythagorean theorem tells us?
다 파이타고라스의 남샤 가르스기요레스.
So if this is R, this is A, this is B, what do we have?
가르스고라. 파이타고라스의 남샤 단다데 장탄샤 에타 비치 석타데 아 임바인다 갈라고레.
Equals to A squared plus B squared. Everybody with me?
참하고서.
Yes, very good. So I've seen some table did the following, and you can tell me whether it's legal or illegal.
Now I know what that did.
So some tables say, well, here I have a square. I need to take square root, right? So I take the square root. Here I have the square root. I have A squared plus B squared. And since there's a square root, I can cancel. So I just remove the square, square, square. Is that legal?
다 딜라야 가시지게 가르치샤세나 바주탈라야 런지 정도 지저 신찰라 런지 정도 스와 근데 바주차가 런지 띵아 수가 런지 사정라 렘바임바나로와 두스로와 스타두스로와타 지저 딜라야 A गना 런지 정도 B गना 런지 도 गना 런지 사정 친두스담베디 समयमा प्रतंसन निगदुस चिशास दुस चिन निगरोएस निगरेस No.
No, you cannot do that, right?
지초마레스 this 지초마르사니 지초마레스
And you can just check very easily, just put in number and convince yourself you get the right answer if you do it this way.
아하. 다 게디 예메치나 아스와 쿠츠가 차블라야 앙거트데다 쯔자다스. 아니 따다 예메체수 하쿠그레스.
Right, so for example, we have some spatial triangle where this is 3, this is 4. What is this length?
아하. 다 팀바임바나 정탄이샤로 숨던 시임바나 석타테 가소레스나 ngaroas.
Right, everybody would agree with this.
정말 길라지로와.
Yes. So I have 20, like 5 square equals 4 square plus 3 square. This holds, right?
내 따다 되기도 와.
Yes? Alright, so if I do that, what happened? You have 5 equals 4 plus 3.
아, 다 게티 강게로와. 단다게 강라 제바나신 제바임바나 아니 응아티 시강라 순돈바도 송거레스는 이렇게 됐어.
You know this is wrong. Right? So you cannot do this.
강가티 치하면도 와.
No. So it's clear.
세우 차서야다.
Because
Yeah,
many
but-
tables did that.
마음보고 뜻이 샤스. 아,
Alright, good. So we have to keep the square.
로아 단다가 속에 단다 디나네로아 그 메퍼타야면도와 로아 다 메퍼타가 메스탄발라야 아니 그 가서 그 dom터요잖아 로아 그 메퍼타가 메퍼 진센데로아 딘스탄발라야 강가 랑지탄테 키구도아스 메퍼타야면도아스.
Alright, so if I look at this triangle, the Pythagorean theorem tells us d squared is what?
다 단다게로아 nga 속에 디기 수스마데 따치 샤바임바이나 아니 디나라야 nga 수 파이타고라스의 남샤데 페체 땅바임바이나 디게 랑지티 강게다 송고요레스.
L squared
스퀘어
plus
되게 jel라.
half VT squared. So far, so good?
됐어.
Alright, so is this the answer?
라인 다가나 로야. 아,
No, why not?
마레스 가르치네 마레스. 아. 아하. 이 because because we still don't have the relationship between T and the T naught.
Excellent. Because what we try to look for is a relationship between T and T naught. And the equation doesn't tell us, right? There's only T appearing. There's no T naught.
Tadanda de kasim by Nasra, the Tananjares, Dila Yangasu, Tampokro Tela, Tita Tila Concha Paru and Rosenguras, Dila Minduas, Dinala teaching Bashi, and the T naught on Chronic Dot and Agit and Dolheminduas.
And furthermore, T on the left-hand side, this is not given in the problem. So you cannot just leave it there.
Tina Shinkitanda de Yunshul Salaya, Ditch Doa, Dig Rangiton says Doa, a dream by na, a Ditilangasugi, Zishinana Teo Marwas. Mestambalet is Hayo Marwas.
Right, so what should we do?
Takachiguresa.
Replace, we can do substitution.
That's Hapchigures, Hapchigures.
Because we know in this problem, that's what we did at the beginning, right? We write down relationship that exists in the problem.
The Tampo Kasu de Kapsa Karchigures and also Tampo Triums Tambalaya, Data Elim Banayo, the Tandangatsugi Shidi Shisha, the Chronic Parola and Java Karida with Gayo, betting us with that Sarwas.
In particular, it's a relationship between the knowns and the unknowns.
Tal Haba the career system Balanga, so Hamako gets Saptachita, Haku gets Saptanic Paruk and Watisha was.
All right, so we do the substitution. What is T?
That and I'm Banangasugi dig at Sapchigi and said, Digaresa, Digaresa.
CT by 2 square. What equals? What is L?
El Garesa.
Divided by 2 square, and then plus 1/2 VT squared Right, so that's your final answer. And of course, if we leave it like that, it looks complicated because we can, we can further simplify it, right?
That Tandanga, that Chesula Rai, that Yamsiti Ragway, Cardina Chirago, Resra. Imban Tanda Dusa by the Tando Notas how to Asra. Then notice how you're Sunday Tando Tapji de Tayores.
But before we start simplifying, are there any questions like how we arrive at this equation here?
That Tampo has to get up to Mazungalaya, de Colatroyos, Hapertangasun de la Candas, Hayim Colatroyos. Nakishatrio, Mother Chesekatrio, Troyosa. Halala, City of La Nidoa. And you take question here, so I try to stangora. Why do you have this number 2 here?
Because remember, that's why you insist to use T for the whole trip instead of just T. Right? Why do I have just number 2 there? Again, what is L?
L Senegaresa.
T naught divided by 2. Right? Because T naught is the time for the light to go up and then down.
Reducer. Tada thing also get a tampo crochet to shoot Jackson's Titi, Eti Yandroche Malhe, Tiso Kanzala, Tipage against Tampoco to shoot Jackson's. That under things Tambalaya, Tanda de Capsanga, so T says Tambalo, Eti Ya, change Malhe no to Sotir was. Naso Goyati, Yandro Shibuguera.
Right? In other words, during T naught, this amount of time, what's the distance that the light travel?
That's Henda Chilayat, young catcher Henda Chicken shape and bana, Tanda tea Lacos Roa. Tea Lacotica Capsu, Weti Casa, Weti Janta Katsuchi do your resena, Weti Yandochi Malhe or what? Yes.
What's the distance?
The Janta Katsu Resa. Tea Lacoganatele Janta Katsu do your resa. 2 2L.
2L, right?
Uh-huh.
2L.
Yeah.
Right, so within the amount of time T naught, the light travel the distance of 2L because it's up and down.
That lego na ya ko janta ka sun do res na tanda chi se ba na 2L do your res with ya chin chin mal he ro.
Right, where if I just consider L, which is only half of the way, it's the speed of light times T naught divided by 2.
That is tambala ya tanda de ka L system bala ya tanda de ge ni tang de la ya u yan do man do kan za sig yo ma o ti yan do ge lam tho che ka de ta go ro wa this tambala ya ani ko tanda de jokse de ani ka sa jokse de ti gi jushana de ko ma ti che ka ge jur go ro wa.
So is it clear?
So which has esa.
Right, so similarly, that's why when we express capital D, there's that 1/2 there.
That in answering it so de la ya d gi rang se te ka so re system bala ya ku che ka ge tang go do wa o ti chong ba re sa.
All right, so let's just work this out. I have C squared, T squared, divided by 4, right, because it's 2 squared.
Ro C square T square ni te ni go ji go ro ka chila pa na rang je tong yo ro.
What is the second term?
That is so sa ge de ka re sa.
T naught squared divided by 4. What is this term?
So sa de ka so da.
B squared, T squared divided by 4. All right, so what should I do next?
That de jila ka chi go do sa.
Cancel all the 4, right? Because I can multiply each term by 4. Everybody see that?
This that samala shi gi je shan de ro was.
Right, so this can cancel. And that gives us
That tele tene ka so ra so.
C squared, T
T
squared
squared is
equals C squared, T0 squared plus
V
B
square.
squared, T squared.
Ra sa.
So far, so good?
This
Okay, what do I do next?
That de jila ka chi go se per la per ja de se ko char me. De jila ka chi re sa. We need to V square T square. We need to bring this.
So we need to bring this to the other side, right? Just collect terms that has T squared together.
That T range tong yo sa so ro that T range tong yo se te ko shok chi de di go yo was.
So what is the coefficient? We
Ta de la
have
ya ko ge te ka yo do. Tang ka de.
minus B squared.
Are.
And what is the right-hand side?
Ta ye shok sa ka las.
T naught squared. So far, so good?
Ta this The better this esa. Yes.
Yes.
Ke zamala de yor de la.
All right, so what do I do next?
Ta de jila kare chi go re esa.
Take the square root. I'm going to take the square root. All right, so what is the square root of this?
So sa ge de ge ranger sawal na ka chore. Ye shok sa de ge ranger sawal chana ka chore. CT.
Let's do something else first because there's a trick.
Yes.
Let me not take the square root now. Because there's a simpler way to do it.
Ta tampo ranger sawa malengo serwa de le yang ko tab dia se ach do sa.
So what do you think? What is that simple thing that I can do?
Ta jenda tab de chi chi kare do sa.
I can move C's to the other side so that, I divide C squared on both sides, basically. Right?
Hazut sujun inshallah C square go sha ja shan de do.
Right? So this is gone.
C square go sha ja shan ko me per chak do.
Everybody sees that?
This
Right? So what is this coefficient here?
That
C
delicate.
square. Sorry, go ahead.
That the Karichagudusa, that is C square gona.
This is 1.
Yeah, C square with C square gona, Chiche.
What is the second term?
Sejosaka square?
B square divided by
C square.
C square. This is the coefficient.
That the coefficient lana, the local times T square.
T square. And right hand side is what?
Ishosaka.
T naught square.
Yeah.
Everybody with me up to now?
Tandapate Tata Resa. Good
So what do I
say.
do next?
That Tigila Karchi Gudusa. Square root.
All right, so next thing is just to take the square root.
Da. That on just what say Guguris.
So this is 1 minus b square over c square square root. T is T naught.
That is a there is a good digger on your sawal and shanarwa. Then look, chick tenta bigger on your tongue, the cigar on your tongue. Goyati laya, Ronji starting on la degrwa. Then the laya tea Ronji tongue, but on starting on a tea Ronji chagarwa. Net tea la cocker on just starting lambina, Ronji saw the lambina, tea la chagarwa. There.
Can I cancel because this is square root? There's a square. Can I just cancel the square?
That under the show satellite tapa in Banas, Nasuka Rangers starting get touching to us, Rangers our change to us. Social satellite, wait and see Galaya Ranjitania to us. Mebertona does
No, right? That's illegal. You cannot do that.
the Jaya Maris. Someone that don't tell us, Delaya T. Ranjitonora, Digger Ranjit Saturn landed the teach Habarwa.
So we want to know what T is in terms of T naught. What do I do?
That get this right. Then as you see the particular is in the TD, Tilekorgi move on the Chumbership by Imbana, then they go all like this.
You move it over there, right?
Dodo Timar all a tea on a dear as, as a career body.
Everybody agree?
This killing Jiggy is at some again. Kalasa?
All right, so how many of you got this? I know this table has.
And there's Susula Rasosa.
Of
Talk
course.
on the Susi.
Yes, there's another, I know, yes. Who else?
Pazatella Rasa, Chisula Rasa.
We're getting very close.
Chisarasa.
All right, so are we
Yeah,
done
Manila
yet?
Laura.
Are we done yet? Are we done yet? Is this answer like reasonable? That's the very last step, right? You get the answer, you want to see whether it's reasonable.
Tanga Sulaya Toton de Rochira or is right. That Toton de Rabadis, that Jinsenta Demba Redues, reasonable, and Jinsenta Demba Redues. Big value to see value look at.
It's reasonable because I derive it.
Jensen Demba Redland Nicores, and Arangas in the lesson on Nigres.
So how do we check whether it's reasonable?
That is Jensen to Demba Remare setting, I took understand with your resta. One thing we can do is by checking the unit.
We can check the unit, and is the unit correct? That's excellent.
Tak who's a la Kalana, Sishila attended the time of Kotana degrees, Sishila and a unit draw. Sishila attended the Gores, that dinner needs the city Tata Wesa. Jim and do the Namala the cancer. Juba and Yongro and Machina Yomarwa. 아. takie 直接对待等下说的这个东西的大家有人送了啊，但这个呢自己达到对对，自己来打扮呢达到对对。Yeah, yeah,
It's correct.
yeah. Some are saying that correct, but some are saying we don't know how to use the unit.
All right. So how do we use a unit without numbers? We don't need numbers.
Tenga su tangka goyo maris, nga su zishe ti de tang ko yun takta de dum de tayo res. Tati kanda sta gorela na.
What is the left hand side?
Yun sho sala karido.
Time, right? So time, it should have the units of time. It may not be second, whatever. It's the units of time.
Aha.
What's a unit on the right hand side?
Aha, tarwa. Ta yun sho sala ta pa imba na ti rido. Ti ki zishi karla na ta nga su ditsu ki zishi sha gorwa. Bisha sha pa na karsha ro sha na digro as. Ta yi sho sala ta pa imba na yang zishi karido sa. Ah, times.
It should be time, right? If it's correct, then both sides should have the same units, meaning the units of time.
Ta kiti charang ke zisha ju ki tanda del heba de kiti driku yo pa imba nas. Yun sho sala yo pa ta yi sho sala yo pa de shiba cha gorwa zishi. Ta yun sho sala ya zishi di tu ki zishi yo pa imba na. Ane yi sho sala ya tu ki zishi gugurwa as.
So does the right hand side has a unit of time?
Ta den stambala ya yi sho sa ki de la ya. De ki zishi di tu ridwe, di su ki zishi ridwe esa.
How do we know? Or how do you know?
Aha. Ta jesu kana sa ko son sa. Ah.
Tina has a unit of time,
Ro gang ki ti le kor ti ki zishi di tu su ki zishi ro a.
but how about downstairs, this factor?
Aha, ta ola ya macha ti la ta pa imba na macha ti ki zishi gares. Ya kanja manja lagi de ta di ya. Ah, kasare. Ah.
It's speed of light. So here you have time. Downstairs you have speed of light. Do you get the unit correct?
Ta gang la ti su ki zishi do as. Ola che su ki o gon jok se ki zishi do as. Ni stamba che su zishi ta ta le son esa. Ah. Ah, yeah. This is cancels.
It cancels, right?
Yeah.
Because here, the first coefficient here is 1, so it doesn't have any units. Second here, you have speed divided by speed. So what's a unit?
Ta chigi imba na ko zishi yo marwa. Tangka chigi ro zishi yo marwa. Ta zishi ta imba na ko nyurse ko go lag do wa. Nyurse go na zishi ka shak re. Ah. Ka shak re.
Right, so
No
it's just
unit.
a number,
Yeah.
no units.
That
Or
is-
this is...
Ya ti o te la ya ko ta tangka chi chak ma ta zishi me chu cha do was.
Right, so here you have time divided by just a number without units. What is a unit for the right hand side?
Aha. Ta de la imba na gang te la nga su zishi ti chu zishi la go yo wa. O te la ya tangka chi ma shi zishi me chu cha so wa. Ta ti chu zishi chi tangka chi go pa na ta chön don ba na i sho sa la ya zishi ga le so sa. Time.
Time.
Yeah.
Right, so unit check out.
Aha, ta nga su zishi la tene de tan ko ta yo re sa de ta imba tan da wa ta sa wa.
What else can we use to check whether this result makes sense?
Aha. Ta tanda de ge thop tan de ta ta de du mun du la ya yang ko ta the shen da ga yo res.
Say it again. Time dilation. Right, so we expect which time should be larger.
Ta tanda de gele so la nga su tu ner sa te pe che ta yo res ta ti ner ba so ti chirang ro ba de wa. O ti pe che ta yo res ta tanda de ka sem ba na ne tan de ni che kap se tu ti kang ge kap se ma yo res. Ah.
Tenzing, right? Tenzing would measure larger amount of time.
Ta tenzen ka sem ba na nga su ti so ma ti chen je kres.
So what that means is T should be greater than T naught. T0.
Aha, ta tanda de ka so kar so ko res na pa jo sa ge ti chi do wa. Ro wa. Ti ti so sa ge ti le ko li chyo gu yo ras ta nyam chi de ta mar da. Ko ni ge inshallah ta pa imba na ani ti le ko li chyo gu yo res.
That's your expectation because of the time dilation.
다 티셔츠 그리고 지고요레스 가르치라 뱀바네 뒤충 고고요서 뒤ner 라틴데 다 뒤ner 지용하라려 지그레스.
Does this result that you got consistent? Is it consistent with that expectation from time dilation?
다 뒤ner 사텔라 상루 땅바인바이나 스로 뒤ner라 상루 땅바인바나 철라야 내가 토프런치라고 와다. 토프런라고 와. 토프런 라주디 뒤ner 땅 따따 되게 돼서. tat shende shepa embana thopna raju degi dinner laya dinner bas karwa ta tu changar se karwa telan deshe jat ke to aisa ha chibachi ngana chagre he is saying like the ne deshiba mara na phajo sala deshiba mendo ane chibachi chaina cancel kata yo maro andi cancel ta ko yora
We should put it numbers.
ta dodo share by na ta de len ta yang she din da yang she twa de tang gen da ro tan da chusule thopran chi ra de ro thopran de gi dinner la yan de ta da jat ke do e ser da yes len la ba chang da ya they're saying this equation can explain the time dilation.
Only 4 then?
Oh yeah, he's saying no.
All right, so why
Because,
yes?
Yeah, yes.
Why
So-
yes? So time dilation? Again, time dilation expectation is that t should be greater than t naught. So what that means is this factor here, 1 divided by square root of this jump has to be what?
ta ro ta de ta ba ina ro nga su ge dinner gi ro ta su de la shi sha ba ba na nga su ge ti le ko li chyo go gre s ro lisa ta ti shi sha ba na nga su de la ya ti le ko ti ani tang ka chi go ro ta de ka su le gre sta de go ba na
All right, so what can we say about this factor?
ta de la ya sentence to de la sto de ko la ka shet ku du sa
What's the property of this?
ta de ko la ya change to da ko de ranjit sawa ga tak na na yo se de la ya chechu ka rin du sa 지금 다 찍어야. 다 데일라야 제주 카드도 사다.
Square root.
Didn't know thing this. Didn't know understand what that. Understand what we have something that divide t0.
Yeah.
So he said it shows the time dilation.
Right, but how? It depends on what this number is.
Так карчинерес.
So if suppose this number downstairs is 2, then is it agree with time dilation?
따로 좋아대 그래서는 와. 단연 남아셔 말다. 다 좋아대 그래서 담발에 게티스 로 안되는 거 정가대로 와. 되는 거 정가대 아니라 차고요 바인바이나. 내가 정가대 아니 차고요 바이나 아니 가서 뒤너게 나도대 청구도 해서. yes.
Yes?
청구도. Yes.
If this number downstairs is 2, which of course is not possible, if this is 2, then time dilation is satisfied? All right.
그렇게 두 니스도 와 거기로 와.
If this is a result, is time dilation satisfied?
다 단다 되어라야 란저 사탕은 아니 요아요 말이스라 요아요 말이스
What's the expectation from time dilation?
다 게티로와 되게 정가때 니 내가 나 정가 니 영상 두고 말했어. 그때 니 인비 원당샤나 내가 순들에 칠레고 와다. 로아. 단 되게 뒤내서 때라야 아니 라투치게 돼서. Yes, it's opposite. It
It's
doesn't.
opposite, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because if for time dilation, you want t to be greater than t0. If this were true, then this is not satisfied. Right? So it's
당가 술로 고야때 티티티래 꼴이 치워 고고요와. 이만에 단단디나 이만에 덕다 대마송아.
But let's take a look at this square root here. What can we say about this quantity?
다 단다게 란저 사타나나 옆에 정가 대치다고 어스와. 단가 수 디기 텔라야 가리셰 특사레스. Chigli kare? Yeah, it's less than 1.
It's less than 1. Why? Why is that?
Tadeba ranjika satanga takte phasharwa tamputela gasu dela taba imbana de kare system bala gela gede chigli chongares gora chigli chonga bege jensen kares ta ranje satang phashada che dite dish do de ta yan do marda dite chigli chonga be jensen karchine resa yeah. We have some number that minus from 1, so this should be less than 1.
Right, that depends on whether this quantity is positive or negative. Have you seen negative numbers?
Yes.
You do, right?
Yeah.
So what I try to say is, if you have an equation, y minus a, is it necessary that this quantity is smaller than 1?
That kit is right. 다 단단데나네 체수게 동마게 장테 장사로와 동마게 장테 장사로와 딘스탄발레 트워치 땅게 인스로 게티 치크나네 장가치 템바인바이나 치크나네 장가치 템바인바이나 톱탄테 치글리 총아레 세란데 딱파티나 노치 용거웨스 no
So what's the condition?
용금에서 전선되게 될라야 자신 가리오레스 positive
A has to be positive in order for this inequality to hold, right?
다 간자 만절라게 되대 텐시렌도 안에 텐샤 가르치는 거 텐샤테 직샤샤도
If A is positive.
로아 다 될라야 그게 자신 시동 걸어와라 자신들 던 스탬블에 게티 에티 레콜이 치바 임바이나 성유마 임바이나 아니 건게티 딱딱 되고요 레스 들으셔
Yes. So is this equation 1 minus v squared over c squared, satisfy this? Meaning is if the second term is positive or not?
다 단대되게 강라 트샤지도 오근데 지고 딱딱 되기도 했어 세대 갈수 그래서 스탬블이야 데라야 그 지도와 로아 sabstanstowa tandi ngumaroes ngumaroe kanjo manjala de charamba ngumaroe positive roe v square divided by c square v ge ranjitante c ge ranjitante go by imbana ngumare domare kanjo manjala de ta de doma kanda cha they say this negative kanda say the cancer na le de all
right, it's actually good. So you have a positive number, right? Plus 2. When you square it, what do you get? 4. Is it positive or negative? Positive. If you have a negative number, minus 2, you square it, what do you get? Plus 4, right? Because you can just do it. This is minus 2 times minus 2 Here you have 2 times 2 is 4. Minus 1 times minus 1 is what? Positive 1. So this again is positive.
그래. 그래, 그 랑지정 여차서 그래. 다 랑지정 여차 되게 정가때 응마 임바이나 동마 임바이나 타마텔은 응마 레거로 와. 동마 차요 말로 와. 야, 그래. Yes.
Right? And then also assume that B is a real number. And I'll tell you what real number means.
다단다 디 임바이나 양코 정가때 디가 쓰스고 정가때 땅 정가 응마 real number. 정가 응마 임비게 아니 삼로 땅고 요레스나 되게 제라에 정가 응마 세데 real number 와. 아니 가리 임반데 시작고스 제라.
Is there a situation when I take the square, the square is negative?
다야 저가리 세나로와 아니 정가지기 스로와 정가지기 랑지 트랜스바인바나 동마 차이게 네탕티나 요로에스 다 정가 강로지기 단단히 임바나 네가 랑지 트랜스바이나 의마 차고 요로와 의마 차라나 레콜리 치워서 거로와 다 정가지기 랑지 트랜스비 값서 동마 차이게 네탕티나 요로에사 미시나 메실라다 저런 뭐 어시 They don't know.
They don't know. All right, so there's a situation. There are some type of numbers called the imaginary numbers.
그러다 야 네탕지 요레스로와 다 네탕티 값서 가레스는 가서 정가 대세지 않았다 말아야 똑똑히 정가 사야지 요레스라 내 가시게 주말래 그랬다데 똑똑히 정가 imaginary numbers 그도와 똑똑히 정가 사야지 요레스
So it's I. If you square it, it gives you minus 1.
다 되게 똑똑히 정가 되게 나네 가서 그래서나 아이도 아디다 땅에서 똑똑히 정가 되고 무슨 거야라 다들 런지 트랜스바이면 도마치래 그래서 내가 요레스 된다 요레스
Have you seen this before?
대통령에서 뭐마
No. First time? All right. So good. So you learned something new here.
빼야버렸어 다와치 정사서 스탠다
Right, so there's an area in mathematics is called complex analysis, dealing with complex number. And by complex number, that means the number has the real part, meaning like a plus 1, minus 1, right? The real number that we deal with, as well as the imaginary part, which has I in it.
다양한 속에 지적비 값은 뉴턴 사이즈거래스 컴플렉스 넘버로와 뉴턴 사이즈거래스 다 뉴턴라고 20지요비 값은 콜라이 접찬이요레스와 접찬이거래스나 다 접찬 가서 real numbers 거 정강 의마 단단가서 통화나서 의마 지그 동마치 사이즈거로와 어떻게 접찬 차시지요레스 내디 나신 콜라야야 똑똑히 차시거래스다 주마게 차스고 또 똑똑히 차지거래서 똑똑히 차대 단단가서가 아인디게 손바치기요레스
Alright, but we know velocity is a real number.
당가서 가리 학고래서나 뉴스에 정강 의마치라 그래
And therefore, this term is always positive.
딘스 담발아야 단단 델라요피게 델라요파디게 토론 카티임 바이나야 디기 토론데 카티임 바이나야 디로와 응이탄 차그로와
But is it bounded by below? Meaning, is there could this number become negative?
단다게 정가데 도마 차스기로 웨스 No.
Why not?
가르치니스 도토 도마스 그거 말이지 다데 도마 마마 대시 부스 그거 말다 대시 부스 그거 말다 디기는 디 텐난디 도마 차스기로 해서 그러
If I have 1 minus a number that is greater than 1, then, the quantity will be negative, right? But is it possible?
단다 디게 값에 치킨 안에 그거 토탄 치워로 와다 디 텐바인바인데 도마에 차이게 네탄 요르웨스
Why not?
가르치니스 다 간자 만져 라게 됐대 말에 티 너스 치기때 아니 티나 말에 네 걸선 거래. 네 걸선 거래. 아, 감기 치료요래. 아, 다 천천히 전부지 기치 데이터 시간은 타나 가셔 그러다. 정말 사고요 말아. 그걸로 어떻게 치료요라 같은 말이야. I'm just telling that what this is, the speed. This is a speed.
Yes,
This is bigger.
that's
So
right.
always this.
Very good. Right, so because nothing can move faster than speed of light, the second term here is always smaller than 1.
Tanga sugarwa tanda delaya tan joksela tanmi keche shigarwa joksel tele keche stambalaya the really jogachin doachi yomarwa din stambalaya tigi tsujosage changkan dinsha ranjetanachi ti gopai bana katina chili chwale garwa.
And therefore, this quantity is always positive.
That is stambalaya de karesaba kati bana ngima chagres.
And that's very good because it's inside a square root. And we need that quantity inside the square root to be positive.
Tate ko ngima chabade yagores tadan de kapsa suge ranjit satrangi tak na lebi kapsa ranjit satrangi na lok changa de kati bana ngasula guya de kalana ko ngima chago goyarwa.
All right, so I think that's it.
Tatakana res.
This is great work. This is a very hard problem. So great work, everybody.
Yago chisons.
And tomorrow we will look at the physics implication, like experimentally, how do we apply this formula and confirm, to be confirmed by experiment.
Tas hanya ngasugut karsa. Ani dila tenen dila ya chogu kariyo pala soba deshe jada ta ani takshe gane kandas rato chigu metagi yens rwa. Lisa.
Right?
That I will explain like why this satisfied with this. That di chasarwa. That di chas tambala ngaso karsha gorese na ngasula guyati dinner imbai na ngaso gangadil he gugu yorwa. He gugu yorwa. Ta ngasula ya Digi Tangati Katina, Chili Chuan Yakos Gorwa. Chicken Jenda Chua Chitambana, Satans of Chili Chua Chilegorwa, Marue, Chili Chua Chilegorwa. Digger Ranges Satan Senate and the Chili Chuarada. The Ku Chili Chuas go by in Bina? Ku Chili Chuas go by in Bina? Ku Chili Chuas go by in Bina? Dig Toton the Cholegorwa. This is now Kudwa. Tanga so. I'm just telling them that this satisfied because this less than smaller than 1, so satisfied with the condition.
Yes, that's great. Right, so time dilation is satisfied by this equation.
That means tambale tandang asu ragayage nyamsichidwa or tigi dinner sadelaya and ratu tata chigiyores.
And therefore your result makes sense.
That means Dambalaya, Chitsula Toyagi Toplan de ni Nanton Tata de Shas, Tonton Dembarindus. That's all?
Good.